to deny that the glass is half empty right now is to be in denial.
You're going for half? This is what
have we got? How much have we got in the
backwash.
cup? The cup was drunk and we backwashed out a bit. That's so funny.
If it's half, the cup is half backwash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, the cup is overflowing with vomit, actually.
The bliss of the abyss.
Once upon a time in a land far away, a poor farmer and his wife lived all alone. They were very lonesome.
Of the Abyss
with Robert Newmark Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bliss of the Abyss. I am your host, Rob Newmark Jones, Ruskin, Denmark. How are we doing this week? Here we go, Final push before Christmas. And here we are, another episode just before you thought there wasn't enough. I'm going to give you one more. And you know what? Maybe there'll be a little Christmas treat for you as well this year. Because you've been so good. And what better way to celebrate than with a little Christmas cracker? So, should have a really special treat coming up soon. Got a few really good guests lined up. My guest today is musician, technician, and all-round good egg, Arthur Carabott. Coming live to you from LA. He's an Englishman in LA. Oh! We talked about all kinds of things. I actually hadn't spoken to Arthur in quite a while, and he's a good friend of mine, so some of it might be a bit just like listening to two friends talk, and you don't know some of the people, but then again, you might know some of the people, and then again, it doesn't really matter, because you've probably got friends that are a bit like some of those people, and you've got friends that have stories that are a bit like our story, so anyway. Something to do, innit? Something to listen to. But before that, let me tell you about my crazy week from hell. Because I had food poisoning, as you know, as keen listeners to the show will know. I got food poisoning, sick as a dog. And then I was out there doing my shopping in Asda. Oh, Asda. Ooh, picture the scene. 49p mushrooms, gluten-free pasta for 40 pence. A true paradise. So I'm packing my bag, I'm packing my bag. And it's one of those where it's really stuffed. You know, I've been carrying the basket around and I've been thinking, this is going to fit in the backpack. And it just about did. But it was a super tight fit. And I had to rearrange a couple of things. And while I was doing that, I thought, I was being really clever. So I was like, I feel a bit sick and I just really want to get home. But what I'll do is I'll multitask. So as I'm putting things in my bag, I've got my card resting against the reader. So it's beeping, paying for me, giving me the receipt as I pack things in my bag. Genius, right? So I take the card out, put it in my wallet, but then something slips out of the bag and I'm like, you know what, I haven't packed this properly. Let me just rearrange, unzip, rezip. So get the bag on, walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, turn around, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's gone. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, wallet, silly me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's gone. So just utter panic. You know, just like, where is it? 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 Where's the wallet? Where's the wallet? You know, and there's all these sort of like very earnest looking people standing around being like, I don't know, I haven't taken it. And it's funny because you can immediately tell, like, it's like, you haven't taken my wallet. You haven't taken my wallet. Like, I can see you're just trying to do your shopping. You're actually trying to help me. Look, you haven't taken my wallet, but someone, it seems, has taken my wallet. So go to the security camera, go to the footage. And there it is. Yep, there it is. We rewind through me looking incredibly flustered, rubbing my head in amazement, rubbing my eyes, looking around, scratching my head, sweating, unzipping, getting really hot, then suddenly really cold, zipping up. And then there's this perfect shot of the camera at the till, has your face bang to rights as you come in, put your stuff down, and there's also a shot from above so you can see on the till what people are putting there. So, by the way, if you're trying to scam it, they're on to you. But there's just this moment, this 5-second moment where the guy behind me, he just checks me leaving, checks the wallet, slips it into his pocket and moves off. Like that. And, you know, I thought maybe, because I didn't have much money in there, but, you know, credit cards, driving license, and obviously mementos and stuff, and a few stamps. Ooh, and a Band-Aid. Ooh. You know, and just some like personal things, like the business card from the first run of One Jewish Boy. So a really important thing to me, you know, show that really helped change my career. And my lucky $1 bill as well. So I thought maybe chuck it on the ground somewhere outside, but no, because what happened is, obviously I froze my card straight away, and within 10 minutes got a text from my bank saying, your card has been declined. He was trying to make some £10 purchase in some shop. And, you know, I spoke to the police, because I'm a gross, you know, thought, but see with the footage is you can see him bang to rights, but he's got a big mask on his face, hasn't he? Everyone does. So how the hell are they meant to catch him? Everyone was just being nice, you know, just calling him a numpty. The amount of times I heard him referred to as a numpty. Yeah, so that was a strong start to the week. And then that was followed up by me, how do I put this? Fucking up my leg. Does that work? I bashed it and it felt bad, and this is a knee that's been a little bit dodgy. And then get ready for me to sound ancient, I stood up at dinner. And it buckled, and it just completely went out from under me. And this has happened before, and usually what I can do, medical professionals, put your hands to your ears, is I just pop it back into place. And sure, it's a bit sore, but, you know, I can walk. It's fine. But this time it would not pop into place. And it was late, and I thought maybe if I sleep and relax, it will just kind of ease itself back in. And I woke up, and it was locked even tighter. Just at this, like, imagine your leg is just constantly bent 15 degrees at the knee, and you can't go up or down because it's just agony. So I had to go to the hospital, obviously, and spend just hours there, obviously, by myself, obviously, because COVID, obviously. And so I'm in the hospital for hours, having various scans done, various people look at me, send me to different departments, etc., feeling rotten, and my knee hurts like hell. And they eventually give me this immense thing that I've got now, this strap. Listen to this. Hey? Bit of ASMR for you. Oh, that's a Velcro strap and a half right there. Strap me up. I came with my own crutches because I'm a resourceful man, and they sent me on my way to the pharmacy for some codeine. And just then it kind of started to sleet a bit. Oh, and then there was a press announcement. So, you know, I get my phone out, put my ears in, and Boris Johnson's talking, and for those of you not in the UK who might not have seen, basically we have had this tier 1 to 3 system, which is like more severity. The higher up you go, the lesser things you're allowed to do. And they basically said, we're introducing tier 4 for London and lots of the southeast. And that basically means you can't see your family for Christmas.
Dear for.
So, having just been incapacitated, and which I still am, I still have my leg at 15 degrees. It's now been at 15 degrees for the past 4 days. Just had an MRI today. But yeah, it's a bit, yes, I sometimes ask guests COVID highs, COVID lows. I would have to say that was a COVID low. That was the abyss. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the abyss. And I thought, you know what? Can't Bill Gates just come on and give me something to cling on to? Hey? Send me to the moon, Billy. Microchip me and send me to the moon. I don't want to live in this world anymore. But I tell you one good thing. Before Tier 4 was announced and before my wallet was stolen, before my leg was incapacitated, I did manage to see my mum, which I won't be able to do, obviously, for Christmas, except for Zoom. Oh, on the first day of Christmas, I Zoomed everybody. Yeah, and we had a fish called parrotfish, which I've never eaten before, and it was delicious. But in the fishmonger, it's a bit weird. He's got all the fish you could ever imagine, but there's none of it's labelled. So, you can kind of just make out, I think that's salmon. Those look like shrimp. And fuck me if that isn't a crab. But other than that, you're really not entirely sure. So we just said, what's this one? And he went, parrotfish boss. I won't do the accent, although I could excellently. Hire me. And we said, parrotfish? Oh, okay. You ever had parrotfish, Mum? No, I've never had. No, neither have I. Oh, shall we get parrotfish? Yeah, let's get some parrotfish. That'll be nice. Okay, 3 parrotfish, please. So, he's descaling them, cleaning them, as they say in the industry. And we said, how do you like to eat them? And he said, parrotfish, what you do, steam it, okra, pumpkin, maybe bit of rice, salad, pepper, delicious. We're like, oh, okay. Yeah, can you fry it? He's like, fry, it's not as good as if you steam it. A bit of pumpkin, some okra, maybe some rice, salad. And we went, oh, okay, right, yeah. Is that how you've had it? He's like, no, I've never eaten this fish before. No. But my Jamaican customers, they come in and they say, you steam it with some pumpkin and some okra and maybe some rice and some that. We're like, okay. If I was a fishmonger, I'd mung all day. I'd definitely try all of the fish. He basically said, he's like, I basically only eat the sea bass. He's literally got a cornucopia of fish. He's like, I don't know, never tried it. Well, what are you doing? Steam it with some okra, some pumpkin, maybe a bit of rice, the salad. That wasn't how he sounded at all, by the way. That's how my voice sounds. Anyway, I have babbled long enough, so I'm going to bring you straight to today's show. It is the wonderful Arthur, Carabott, and me chatting away. And warning, there's a lot of name dropping this episode. I'm talking James Blake, Natalie Portman, Rashida Jones, Chris O'Dowd, Mark Maron, Billie Eilish, Kate Nass, Russell Brand, Noel Gallagher, to name but a few. So, please get some bliss this Abyss season with me and Arthur right now. Right now.
I guess this is the point in every podcast. Have we started? we started a while ago, and everything you're saying is going to be there for amusement. Yeah,
we can start. I mean, it's recording, but that doesn't mean we've necessarily started. I'll give you an intro outside of the thing. But do you want to be like welcomed?
I mean, you know, I am a man of zero international repute, so I think I deserve it.
Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show a man of zero international repute, Arthur Carabott. How was that?
Gone wild. That was great.
There we
think
go.
that was-
How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I just got up like an hour ago in beautiful Los Angeles, California. And yeah, I'm doing okay.
Good. Yeah. So it's an 8-hour time difference, isn't it? It's 5 p.m. here. So that's what, 10 a.m. there?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. You see, that's quick maths. That's
Quick maths.
for you. Very good. Or math.
Quick maths. Here's a funny thing. Quick maths is well known amongst my colleagues. So obviously the Big Shack song, I guess, went super international. And so the bits of British culture that they're familiar with are like the Wild Thornberrys and
Really?
Big Shack.
I don't think I even know what the Wild Thornberrys are. Isn't it just a
I
cartoon?
think it's like a Nickelodeon cartoon, but it's all sort of like, oh, pip hip, tally ho, you know, exploring the jungle.
That's quite popular over there, isn't it? That kind of...
They're into
it's
that.
an easy to digest form of Britishism.
Yeah, they like that, and they like The Crown,
Yeah.
and that sort of level of Britishism. And then you go, Idris Elba's British.
Yeah.
And they go, you what?
Mind blown. But there's also obviously some appeal to the Michael Caine variety. But try selling a Norfolk accent out there. You're fucked, aren't you?
Well, I tell you what, actually, a bunch of friends have all watched Peaky Blinders, and they love doing a little Peaky Blinders impression.
The Brummie accent, it's very, very appealing, isn't it?
And they just go, by order of the Peaky Blinders. And I'm like, yeah, good.
Yeah,
Good. Very good.
Thank you. Very good. Well done. Carry on. How are you finding it out there? So maybe also give the listeners some context.
Yeah, on why I'm here or like our whole life.
Well, yeah.
Because we've known each other a while now.
We have, haven't we? Yeah. I don't know. Whatever takes your fancy. We could start with the here and now and then expand.
That sounds good. Yeah. So I moved to LA in October 2019 and moved from London, and I took a job here. I kind of came out here looking for a job and found one and moved, and it's in the music technology space. Mm-hmm. So I work at a company called Output, free plug, who we make basically tools for musicians. So like software instruments and effects and plugins and stuff. And
VSTs.
We make VSTs. Actually, we also make like desks and speakers and that kind of thing. So
hardware as well. Okay, cool.
Bit of hardware. And yeah, so I got like 5 months of normal LA life.
Yeah, you were loving it. It was the swinging 60s, getting connected, meeting actresses, going to parties, doing cocaine. I don't know if any of that's true, but I assume all of it is.
None of that. I did meet. I'm trying to think of. I didn't meet any. No, wait. I did meet some celebrities. I managed to get like a very small sliver of like second degree of connection, celebrity action before the whole lockdown happened. So at least I got a little bit of LA before this all happened.
Can you drop a name, or are you gonna?
Oh, I'm a king name dropper. It's all I do because I have no real connection to these people.
Why not? Yeah.
I was in the green room of after a James Blake concert because friends of mine are very good friends with him.
Yeah, he went to our school, didn't he?
Well, he went to your school. I didn't go to your school, but he went to your school. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm and
50
anyway, it was
years
in there,
old.
and yeah, it was it was a bit silly. It was one of those things. It was like Natalie Portman, Rashida Jones, her boyfriend or husband who's in Vampire Weekend, Chris O'Dowd, and you're just kind of going, okay. Yeah. And then there's me. I'm just going to go over and get some free water and some crisps now.
You're not surreptitiously filming them and posting it to TikTok then. You're a man of good standing and character.
Man of good standing, yeah, in that regard.
Yeah. So obviously, it must have been like quite a culture shock. I don't know if shock's the right word, but obviously, LA is very different to London in lots of different ways, right?
Yeah.
So did you feel like you were starting to like get your feet, get going, because it's a big shift, obviously, before Pandy and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I made some weird decisions in terms of moving to LA, in that I didn't get a car. In fact, I only learned to drive in London the 2 months before I moved here. And so I was still a bit like nervous about the idea of driving in a new city on the wrong side of the road and all that kind of thing. So I moved to downtown LA, DTLA, which is like mini Manhattan vibes. It's like blocks and towers and concrete jungle. And it meant that I took the subway to work, which genuinely, I've met people who've been born and raised in LA who've never taken the subway in their life.
I've never even heard of the LA subway. I didn't realize there was one.
There is one. It's actually all right. It's reliable. Like, the timings are good. It's not very often, so it's usually like every 4 to 6 minutes.
Shocking.
Even during peak hours, which when you're used to the Central Line, is kind of wild. But it's actually okay. The worst thing about it is the coverage. It doesn't cover a lot of the city, but they're expanding it. Yada yada yada.
Right.
I lived in a place where I could. It was very walkable, as they would say. So you could walk to a grocery store, you could walk to a restaurant and get some food, and there were lots of bars and stuff around. And that was great before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic came, it's like, oh, there is zero green space for like a couple of miles, and I don't have a car. And so I eventually ended up buying a bike, and that kind of opened things up.
That's a good choice, yeah.
Right now, I'm now in my friend's house, my friend Emily, who will definitely not listen to this. But I'm here in her house in Highland Park, which we can talk about a little bit. But because her cat is here, Momo, who is looking at me very grumpily, because
Hello,
she has 2 kids and a husband and a big dog, and being in LA was a bit much for them working full time, so they went to stay with her parents in Wisconsin. And so I came here to look after the cat for a month, and that was in July, and I'm still here.
Are you hiding? Do they know you're there? When they come home, do you go into the closet, or is it all cushy?
No, it's fine. They're going to come back in a couple of months, and it's worked out really well because this place has like a front yard and a cat, and so it's
Highland
not so
Park.
much
I
as...
think I know because I think Mark Maron's podcast is there. Or
He used to live in Highland Park, from what I understand.
Yeah,
and he's moved somewhere else. I don't know where. But yeah, they used to say like, oh yeah, Mark Maron, we would see him making out with 20-something-year-olds in coffee shops. Great. Was there. That's the Mark Maron.
I love how name droppy this episode is already. This is great. You've turned really LA, Arthur. I love it.
It's all I'm here for, Rob. But the other stuff, so this is what I know about Highland Park. Like now it's, I think it's an area of a bit of gentrification. It's a topic. It used to be kind of gangland. It used to be sort of, I think 8 years ago, it was like you wouldn't live here. And I know some people that lived here for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And they're like, oh yeah, I used to hear gunshots like at least once a month.
Wow.
That it doesn't seem to be like that now, but it's got a long musical history. I think in the 2000s, Zach De La Rocha of Rage Against the Machine had I think it was kind of an art space cafe thing.
Right.
So, it had some cool cred. And
that's what happens. The artists move in, and then they make it a nicer place, and then the people with money move in, and they drive out the artists.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not money LA, and even in the kind of the hip... So it's on the east side of LA, which is the more like hipstery side, than the west side, which is... I mean, it's a bit like London, right? East London versus West London, in terms of vibe. But yeah, it's not full, like it hasn't gone full Hackney yet, I think.
Okay, right, okay. But you think it's on a trajectory towards it?
I don't know. To be honest, it's quite hard to...
Well, that's fair. I mean, you're not a real estate speculator, after all. Although that is why I invited you on the show.
Yeah. don't know. But let's see. I could probably get a couple more name drops in if you want about Highland
I would
Park.
love that, Arthur. Feel free.
As I understand it,
Yep.
Billie Eilish and her family are lifelong Highland Park residents.
There we go.
And I've seen, I believe, although they were masked, one celebrity here who is Kate Nash, I believe, lives in Highland Park now.
Okay. Yes. Another English songstress.
Yeah. And actor.
And actor, of course. Yeah, she was in Glow, actually.
With Mark Maron. Look at that.
And there we go.
Completed the circle.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a good move, dude, because, downtown LA, concrete jungle, lockdown, those three things, that doesn't sound good. Right, I wanted to check what LA life is like when you were in the middle of it and lockdown happened. Are the rumors about the crazy restrictions true? Are the rumors about the overflowing homeless situation true? What was it like?
Yeah, lots that. Which one to start with? What it was like with the beginning of lockdown?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly, I think, like with everyone, and it locked down earlier than most places, and it was pretty successful in that. But it didn't last by the time we got to the summer. So there was this kind of funny correlation where London and LA, they were, how to say this? By the end of the summer, they both got back to where they were in April, right?
Yeah.
So like, it all went up until April, and then London went down, and everyone went on holiday and like had a nice time and was like, oh, actually, it's not so bad. And then it went back up to April.
Yeah.
LA instead just peaked massively, and it went up from like 1,000 cases a day to 3,000 over the summer. And it's kind of because people got the 4th of July happened, people got tired, and they never went full, iron fist. That hasn't happened at all. And even now, Thanksgiving, it went up to like 10,000 cases a day, and now it's at 22,000 a day. And even so, it's like they've gone, okay, you can no longer meet up with people from outside your household, which we were only allowed to do in October, but people were doing anyway.
Yeah.
And now, yes, you can't meet up with people from outside your household, but gyms and malls can operate at 20% capacity.
Oh, wow. They've still got that going.
It's all of that. It's a bit bonkers.
It is a bit bonkers, but I was thinking about it from the other side, and this is obviously, I'm not in favour of this, but because people have been given so little support by the government, it like, for those people who aren't getting support from the government, they need to earn money somehow, right? Like I understand there's been 2 stimulus checks. One for the first one for 1,200. Oh, I thought there was a second one for 600. Is that not
hasn't
true?
happened yet? They're still working on it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the level, and the people who've lost their health insurance, I think, is around the 14 million mark as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my thing of it being bonkers is in the context of that. What you should do is give people money.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
If you're not going to let them work, you have to give them money. That seems pretty obvious, but the fact that people are against it is somewhat shocking to me. Considering we have a conservative government over here as well, they've handed out tons of money for people who've not been able to work. Like, that's a measurable difference in the approaches. But we don't need to get bogged down in politics. It's all a bit boring.
I mean, your other question was about are the heavy restrictions true? And I would say no. From everything I've gathered, it seems that LA is slightly looser than London in terms of the official rules.
Yeah, we just got put into a new tier over here. I don't know if you've seen the news.
I have.
Yeah.
Christmas is cancelled. My mum and my sister in the WhatsApp group, it was, sorry, game over.
Yeah, game over. It was grim. And I was in the hospital as the news was being announced with my fucked up leg, which is still fucked up, and it's locked.
What happened to your leg?
It's like an aggravation of a long-standing injury, but this is, get ready for me to sound like an old age pensioner. I stood up wrong. and it locked out of place, and I have not been able to straighten it since. It's still locked at this like 15-degree angle.
Wow.
So, fun. So I was in the hospital. It was starting to snow, rain, sleet kind of thing. And he was announcing Christmas was cancelled. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I blubbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of blubs in the 2020.
It's been quite a blubby year, hasn't it?
It's not been the best.
No. I'm still looking for that one person out there who's been like, you know what, 2020 was great for me.
Well, here's the thing, because I was thinking about that, is that people are really, I think like the number one human trait is post-rationalization and sort of, I think it's sort of a coping mechanism. And people will say, people will be like, it made me stronger, or like it was this good thing happened, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And you're like, I guess that's a way of like getting past it, but would fully trade this. Like, I remember at the beginning people saying things like, I almost feel a bit privileged to be. It's horrendous, but this is a historic moment, and to be living through such a historic moment. I was like, nope, take me back. Like, let me just go get a taco and boring life, please.
Take me back. I know. It's like we've all been forced to become retirees. It's like I'll just pop to the shops and take my walk around the block, and that will probably be it for the day. That's all I need.
Yeah, there have been some silver linings and some things that have that like I've done that I wouldn't have done had this not happened. But still, nah.
Yeah, it's like, look, there's never a situation where it is literally only bad news. But like to deny that the glass is half empty right now is to be in denial.
You're going for half? This is what
have we got? How much have we got in the
backwash.
Cup? The cup was drunk and we backwashed out a bit. That's so funny.
If it's half, the cup is half backwash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, the cup is overflowing with vomit, actually. Oh dear.
Yeah.
My other question was about homelessness. That's very much in the gutter press over here. They paste it with pictures of like shocking scenes. Skid Row, thousands of tents, etc. Is that all overblown, or is it true?
Well, what I would say to that is, you should just look at pictures of what Skid Row was like before, because it was pretty bad. It was like really bad, and has been for a long, long time. Yeah. So, but yeah, when the pandemic hit, where I lived in downtown was, I could kind of go 2 blocks in one direction and it was the financial district, and that meant that there was no one out. For the first couple of months, you would see like 2 dog walkers and like 1 person running. And it was really just dead and crazy, apocalyptic. And then if you went in the other direction, you got to kind of Skid Row, and there were a lot of people out on the streets, and it was, scary in the sense of like, this is surely going to be really bad for the virus spread and for these people. And I did go down there at one point because I had, as it was all about to kick off and we were still at work and stuff, I ordered a bunch of masks from Amazon with a couple of colleagues, got sort of 50 masks and was asked if anyone wanted to go in on them. And then I got a lot of backlash from a couple of people at work, one of whom was like, masks don't work, and like posted the Surgeon General's thing. And a colleague from Hong Kong like was DMing me being like, they work. Like,
on the sneak tip.
We know masks are good. And then someone else was saying, you shouldn't buy masks because they're needed for medical things. Then I felt really guilty. So eventually when they arrived, I then decided, I found there was a place in Skid Row that was, there are lots of places that were like, we need PPE. So I went for a run down there to drop them off. And it was like, I need to run down the middle of the actual road because there are so many people just around on the pavement. And it's like heartbreaking. It's horrendous.
Wow.
Here's the other thing that people probably don't know about Skid Row is, there's like downtown, and then to the south and the east of that, it's like Skid Row and the Arts District. That's where like the after parties happen. So one of the last events that I went to before it was a secret quartet show in a warehouse. And it's the kind of thing is you get into an Uber, you get it to wherever the location is, you get out, you see the burning car, and you line up by a fence, and then eventually a bouncer kind of opens the thing and goes, "Here for the show?" You're like, "Yeah." And you all go in, and there's like a few hundred people there to see Fortet. And that's where it's this quasi-legal thing where, because LA has a curfew of, I think it's like 2 a.m., all the bars just shut.
Right.
That's it. Everything's kind of game over. But all of these after parties happen, and they will be advertised on like Resident Advisor. You can buy tickets, but they never have the address. So you buy a ticket, and then on the night of, you'll get an email or a text saying, this is where it is, opens at this time, and everyone goes there, and you use like Venmo, which is like a cash app thing. It's a bit like Monzo payment.
It's Monzo, isn't it? You just send money to people with a code or whatever. Yeah.
And you use that to buy drinks and that kind of thing, which reminds me of, just going to sidetrack slightly here, but to our work Christmas party last year, where me being super naive to LA, I was like, basically dragged a bunch of colleagues. I was like, yeah, come, there's this night. We'll go to this thing. And
but you're trying to be cool. You're new. You're like,
I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah, of course.
And one of the people I was with was from LA, and he was like, dude, this is like sketchy. We shouldn't be walking down this road. I'm like, it's fine. We're all drunk. But took them to this warehouse where there was a night playing UK garage and drum and bass, which was an interesting thing to bring a bunch of Americans to.
Right, yeah. It never made it big over there, did it? Either of those styles, really.
Well, drum and bass seemingly, not big, but did in a kind of a way I'd only describe as more clean or more American, in the way that, like, if you compare how dubstep kind of changed as it went from here to there.
Yeah.
Or from, the UK to
sort of
America.
Like more compressed, produced sound.
Yeah. Right. More produced, I think more polish in a way. And not saying that in like a necessarily a positive way or a negative way, but like, it's more of a it's not jungle. Like jungle is totally foreign, but like drum and bass, where it is it's a thing. I work with a guy who's basically only makes drum and bass. Okay,
that's pretty cool. I mean, to be fair, jungle is a pretty limited genre, isn't it? Because it's always kind of the same beat, and always someone going and there's only so many times you can hear that in a row at a night and still be excited.
But I've got to say, it can be so exciting. So there was 2000, I think it was like 14 or something. These two guys, Tim and Barry, who are like well-known photographers and video makers of like the grime scene, a lot of electronic music and stuff. They did all of like Dizzy Rascal's artwork, and they've made films about music scenes in Chicago and that kind of stuff. They did a night at the Barbican, and they had General Levy, who come out, and he did that song "Jungle Is Massive."
Amazing.
And it was the most exciting thing ever, hearing that live. It was just everyone in the Barbican lost their minds.
Yeah. Well, what a setting for it as well.
But anyway, it is the traditional.
Yeah. But I interrupted your story. Sorry. You were walking down a sketchy street in LA.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that was it. It took them to like a sketchy warehouse to listen to English drum and bass. And I kind of, it's been, a defining story. That's, I was like, you remember that time when we let the sketchy English guy take us down a sketchy warehouse to listen to sketchy music in the UK?
You probably gained some cool points, but not quite the ones that you wanted to.
Yeah. Not the true LA ones.
So that's good that it seems like you're working with people who you can also be friends with. Like that's kind of the key to enjoying any job, if you ask me. But did you know anyone in LA before you moved there, or was it just like, here we go? And then how's it been trying to create a group over there, or a network of people that you can, hang out with and talk to, etc.?
Yeah. So I would say that the people I work with are great and formed a lot of my social life. We did a lot of stuff together. People were generally in, sort of plus or minus 10 years. So it was
okay, right, yeah. So you could.
There's a lot of socializing. There was a brewery near the office, and we'd go have a drink and all that kind of stuff. I should
play some sad music over this. It all sounds so impossible now, doesn't it? Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and that has remained. Obviously, we still work together remotely, but there's been nice things where one of the things that happened as a pandemic thing is a group of us have a weekly gaming night, which is something I haven't really done since I was a teen, probably since around we first met. But play games online with voice chat, and it's not really about the games. It's about the games. It's about the homie time.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
and I knew a couple of people before I moved here. So 2 friends of mine from London that I went to sixth form with had actually moved out here the March or the February prior, like February 2019.
Right.
So that kind of gave me a bit of the impulse of like, okay, this would be a good time to do it. And then a few coincidences. A friend, Hannah, we knew each other in London because we both worked in sort of the music tech space world. And then in the interim time, she had moved to New York, and then we both ended up moving to LA around the same time. So that was kind of like a fun coincidence.
Kismet.
And what does Kismet mean?
Fate, basically.
Fate. Because there's a restaurant here. There's a good restaurant here called Kismet.
I'm pretty sure it just means like fate or destiny. I think it's originally a Turkish word.
I mean, if it's called Destiny, that's also very LA.
Right.
Right near where I live, and also there's a couple of them, I think. There's a place called the House of Intuition. And it's the kind of place that is... it's not my vibe. They sell crystals. That's the main thing that they sell. That kind of, crystals and etc.
What, you don't believe in science? Didn't realize I have a science denier on the pod.
Yeah, but they have what I think is a genius but infuriating piece of marketing, which is it's an all-black storefront and it says House of Intuition in white text, and then it says, your intuition led you here. And I think that is genius and also makes me so angry.
Yeah, a little bit of vomit in the mouth, but it's going to work.
Yeah.
Have you met any super fake LA people who you thought you were going to be friends with, but they were just full of bullshit?
I don't think so. So
good.
That's the thing, is that I think we all, grew up with the impression of like LA is fake bullshit world and everyone's shallow, and probably like San Francisco is cool, man.
Right.
And I first came to both those places in 2016. I was in the middle of my master's and I got an internship in LA.
Nice.
It was my first time here, and I was expecting that. I was expecting kind of not to like it. And I did a trip up to San Francisco in the middle of it, and I had found the total opposite was true. I really liked LA, and San Francisco was such a shock in many ways, particularly this is the experience that summed it up. I was walking down, I think it's called Market Street, which is like the big main road.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right, there was the Twitter headquarters. And I'm like, there are billionaires in there. And this is like 3 p.m, mind you. And then I look to the left, and there's like the entrance to a subway station. And there are 20 homeless people shooting up heroin and passed out and bleeding. And you're like just that. You can see this in one view.
The whole problem of the whole thing is right. I heard there's an app in San Francisco that shows you where there's human shit, because the problem is that's not even a joke. Because the problem is so out of control. I visited San Fran before the really big tech boom, and it was a bit more of a normal place then. And obviously the houses are beautiful, and the tram and the the bay and the bridge and yada yada yada. But that was from a very blinkered family holiday experience, and also before, all the tech explosion that has completely changed it.
Yeah, I mean, I went to when I went to San Francisco in March. Here's the real San Francisco story. I stayed in the house of a guy I stayed in the bedroom of a shared house of this guy who I only knew from Twitter, and he was like, "I'm out of town, but sure, you can stay in my house."
Wow.
Yeah, and shout out to John Gold, very nice, generous guy.
Yeah, it could have been a serial killer. So there we go.
Could have been. And he said, "You can stay in my commune." And I was like, all right, let's see what this is like. And it wasn't, I would say that, I mean, actually the other residents in the house were like, it's not a commune, it's just an 11-person house. Which I think there is some degree to which you can't avoid some of the stuff. Like I think the classic hallmark of communes is meetings about doing the dishes more than anything else. And they definitely had that. But when I knew that I was in, like, what summed up the whole kind of tech monoculture thing for me was I'd kind of arrived, I sat in their living room, which was all like cushions on the floor, but whiteboards on the wall. And I was just kind of like sat down. These two guys were drawing on the whiteboard, and they're like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, I'm staying in John's room." Like, what are you up to? "Oh, we're just we both work in the same space, and we're just talking about maybe we can start a new business or a consultant thing together. Like, our mission is like we're both coaches. That's the space that we work in, and what we really want to do is empower people to live like their truest life and to really find true meaning in what they do." Wait, it gets worse. Like, to really, like, because the thing is, a lot of people, they don't have that mission, that drive, but we want to help companies to help their employees find the alignment between the company mission and the people mission. So we're just going to make people truly happier by getting them to basically to buy into the corporate mission more. And so even the whole thing about like, we just want to help people was within this framework of a tech bubble, because they're like, yeah, because we're going to go sell this to YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
I was kind of thinking like, maybe you should be advising these people to like, I don't know, go work on a farm or something, or like, but no, it was all still, it couldn't be outside of tech.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that self-actualization stuff, but within this very narrow bandwidth.
Yeah, and then just to really cap off the whole kind of techno-hippie thing, the guy's like, "Oh, hold on, I just need to go and moisturize my Cambo scars because we did the frog poison last night." And I was like...
Wait. Am I correct in thinking this is the toad that you lick and it gets you high?
From what I understand, it's the sweat from one of these frogs, but I think that you just apply it to your skin. I don't think you lick it because it does scar you, because he had these little red scars on his wrist. It's like, I mean, it is like a poison, I guess.
Okay, but, so I've got the whole the cultural stereotype of it, but it's probably the same
I think
thing.
You've got what we all, I think you've got the thing that we all know. Probably if you did lick them, you would get fucked up as well. But
you'd have a scar on your tongue, so
you might have a scar on your tongue. Yeah, and as I understand it, because I know someone that like administers it. That sounds very clinical, but like does those ceremonies and stuff, and like I think you vomit a lot and
like an ayahuasca type thing.
Yeah, ayahuasca. Which do you know Neil Brennan?
The comedian, Chappelle's partner.
Chappelle's show,
hilarious.
I listen to his podcast quite a bit.
How Neil Feel.
How Neil Feel.
I like it. Yeah, I like him.
And they've just gone full ayahuasca. That's all they talk about for like the last month. He did ayahuasca with Chris Rock and some other people, and now all he talks about is doing ayahuasca. And so I feel like it's become it's become a proselytizer. It's funny how that can happen, like because obviously he's only talking about it because I know he's got clinical depression. He talks about that quite openly and a lot, and obviously it's like something that's really worked for him. So you don't want to be like, all right, dude, enough with the ayahuasca. But at the same time, it is a show for entertainment. So there is an element of like, could you maybe mix it up a bit?
Like, if you've ever...
I mean, at least they're self-aware about it.
Right.
That they're like, we're talking about ayahuasca. Not to make this the ayahuasca part, but yeah.
But then they just do go ahead and do it anyway. I don't know how you feel about Russell Brand, but I've always found him funny on the radio. He had one of my favourite shows ever. His podcast, as stand-up, I could take it or leave it, but his podcast was absolutely fantastic, off the cuff, hilarious, and then now it's gone all the way. Like, it's a different show now, obviously, right? It's called Under the Skin, and it's gone so far all the way past funny to just like, I just have a shaman on, and I'm putting shaman in inverted commas. Not that I don't believe there are real shamans out there, but a hell of a lot of these shamans are just like positive thinking people. And it's just that the whole time. And you're like, it just becomes exhausting. I guess unless you're into that, in which case, great. It's your jam, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that out here.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But yeah, no, I Russell Brand, I never really got fully into, and I think that's sort of for good and for bad in terms of, some people say he's really funny and they love what he does or some of it, but then also people being like burnt by him in a way.
Yeah,
are feeling a bit like, oh no, I've kind of gone off this. So
yeah,
the level of detachment has kept me that. I wonder if you know that a friend of ours, their mum is his, or was his, I don't know, acupuncturist.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we can name names later.
No, tell me now. I'll beep it in the edit. Is it? Why didn't he tell me that? I actually spoke to him on the phone today.
Really?
Yeah.
And as a net result of that, he had one of his greatest moments of his life, which was being sat at a dinner with Noel Gallagher.
And he hasn't told me this story either.
Yeah, there you go. He's an actual D-Lo guy, whereas I am name dropping as much as I can. He would just be like, had dinner with Noel Gallagher. It's probably the best moment of my life.
But yeah, it was cool. He drank red wine, which was cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great talking to him, actually. I haven't spoken to him in ages. Oh, he had a message for you, but can I remember what it was? I think he said, have you got laid? I think it was something like that. You're under no obligation to answer.
Text me, Alex.
Yeah, TB. Do you remember that? TB? TB, text back. That was in the old days of SMS. Is it even SMS anymore? I don't know. Actually, seeing as we're reminiscing, why don't we go back and talk about, what you said at the beginning, our whole oeuvre, how we know each other and how we met and how we fell in love and broke up and the bitter divorce.
Yeah, all of that. And oeuvre. Yeah. I mean, it's always like there are some people at your school that I don't know if people assumed I went. There are people that kind of thought maybe I went to Latimer or something like that, it's always a bit of a long thing to try and explain. But it was basically the way it worked was I went to Stoke Newton School. In my class was Rob Rowland. His older sister Laura went to Latimer, and as a result, there was cross-pollination between Stoke Newton and Latimer, and there were other connections as well. People like Tom Wotton and Rosa Slade and all of that. But yeah, spent a lot of teen years hanging out with Latimer crew at house parties and that.
Yeah, and I met you at one of them, didn't I? I have like a vague, I'm not a good memory person, but I have a vague memory of that.
There was, even though we were about 15, there was a lot of alcohol involved. I can't remember the first time that we met, but I think maybe I can remember the first time I met Honor, though, and maybe that we could do. It was some festival thing in Clissold Park, and I feel like that was the first time I met Honor, or maybe it was the second. It's like, oh yeah, we've met before, kind of thing. But it was just like lots of things like that, and I remember going. You came to the house in Aldeburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was that summer in Aldeburgh.
That summer. There's some good stories. It was great. So I think it was George's family had a house out there.
I think it was George's family and maybe Lottie's family rented a house,
Right,
or something like that.
Maybe Emma's, or maybe all of them, something like that. And there was a bunch of us, maybe 10, 15 who went out there.
I think there was a rotating cast because people kind of came and went as well. And then there were some lifers who just did the whole thing. Didn't have anything else to do with their summer.
I spent a fairly decent amount of time out there.
I feel like I was there for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think something like that. And I left in a cloud of shame and ignominy about accusations which were false.
Really? I have no memory of this.
So this is the story. This is what happened, right? One day, I got up and I'm a late riser, so people were already up and they were like, "Oh, here he is. Here's Mr. Secret Wank," and I'm like, "What? And basically, Emma Fansat had told everybody that she'd caught me wanking in the middle of the night, right? And this was just completely untrue. I think she just did it for shits and giggles because I asked her years later, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I just made it up." But
I was going to say, like, was it Nick Ward?
Exactly.
My memory of that holiday was the term Tommy Tank being used all the time, and I associate it with Nick Ward being like, "Oh, he's just having a Tommy Tank." Like,
no, I don't know why. I don't know why she decided to tar me with the brush. Maybe she fancied me and she was trying to neg me. Who knows?
Who knows?
But I couldn't shake it. I didn't have the wherewithal or the self-confidence either. And I scuttled out of there a broken man.
Wow.
But yeah, happy memories. The best fish and chips I've ever had in Aldeburgh.
Yeah, I mean, my memory was of buying a halfway through buying a Super Nintendo from like a flea market, and then Nick Ward making Gabba tunes on Mario Paint on it. And surprisingly, the person who got annoyed at us for like staying indoors and playing on it was John Hackett. And it was, the person you would have thought would be most behind kind of staying in and playing video games.
Classic basement dweller.
Yeah, but no, he was, from what I remember, he was a bit like, "Oh, just staying indoors, what's the point of being here," kind of thing. But I think I heard the news recently. Am I right in thinking John and George are having a baby?
Yep, I believe so. Yeah. That's correct. And I think
they're both
working nurses.
Yeah.
I believe.
That I knew. Because my sister is good friends with George's younger sister, Phoebe. So I get little bits of news that way.
Yeah, no, quite a few people having babies. It's that time.
Yeah.
It's that time of year.
I mean, you're a married man yourself, right?
I am, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, buddy boy. Yeah. It's been great until it wasn't, and now I'm divorced. No, I'm only joking.
Fuck.
Yeah, no.
For a second there, I was just like,
oh fuck! What have I done? No, yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm enjoying it. Obviously, we haven't been able to have our honeymoon.
Right. Yeah.
Because of the thing. Yeah, thinking about the before times. It's interesting, isn't it? Because like, I've always kind of enjoyed reminiscing. I know, like, people have sort of a thing about it. Like, the joke is like, "Oh, in my day, it was way better," kind of thing. And
right.
Like, "Oh, shut up, granddad, with your stories about." But I've always actually really enjoyed that. And now it's like, it's been like amplified to a level of like, it will start to choke me up.
Right.
What was I was a little bit tipsy and we were watching like some film, who cares? And, there was just like a scene of them going to a concert and like, going for a meal beforehand, having drinks in a packed bar, going to a concert, dancing. And I genuinely was getting choked up just at the idea that was a thing that you could do. Such a wild time we're living through. Yeah.
I mean, on the whole nostalgia thing,
yeah,
I I think it's undeniably enjoyable, right? To have a little bit of, you remember when, and like, talk about Aldeburgh and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do consciously try and harbor a kind of anti-nostalgic, thread, because if there's something that is seemingly to be a truth, a universal truth, is that thing that you said, is people going, back in my day, it was much better when this thing, and especially with things like music, people are like, this isn't, I'm just going to listen to the music that I listened to when I was 15, because I was obviously much smarter then. But I think it's just that, it's familiar and nice, but it's something to be wary of, because otherwise clearly it's not true, because everyone has thought that for every generation.
Right.
So,
and yet measurably things definitely have been getting better pretty much across the board.
Well, yeah, but even if you go with something like music, which I think you couldn't say it's gotten better, it's just changed.
Right.
It's
yeah. I thought you were talking about standards of living and stuff like that. But yeah, right.
Yeah. Like even with, so let's just take something which is more like taste, like just music.
Yeah, music.
If everyone thinks that music was better in their day, then everyone's wrong, right? It's just that you had these stronger connections to it, and it probably it meant more to you when you were younger than it does when you're older. And so that makes me go, okay, that's something to be wary of, and I want to still keep some toe in the world of listening to new music, like not trying to just listen, get stuck in the past. And I think this spreads with things like ideas. There's a good quote, and I can't remember. I think it's this guy, Alan Kay, and it's something like, everyone wants change except the change part. Which another way of putting it is like, everyone wants things to be better, but they don't want anything to change. And it's the same thing with, like areas of, you go back to the area that you grew up in, you're like, oh, this has all changed. There used to be one of these here, and there used to be that, and it was better this time. But at the same time, you want things to improve, and you can't have that without things changing. And it's why stuff is so slow to change, like the idea of universal healthcare. It's just no, don't change anything. It's scary if you change stuff.
Yeah, and it's also why every movie that's ever been made is constantly remade every 3 years, because it's just like, this is safe, this will work.
Yeah,
you soothe and mollify,
and even with dumb stuff, like when people go, they've just upgraded my phone, like the new iOS, and they changed everything and it's awful now, it's terrible. It's like, in 3 weeks, you're not going to remember the difference. That's it's like, okay, there are some times when things crash more, but really in 3 weeks, you're not going to remember the difference and you'll be used to it. It's just unfamiliar. It's not bad.
Yeah.
And but that's also a tricky thing. It's like, is this unfamiliar or is it bad? Because some stuff is bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. What can we think? AIDS, rape,
those are bad.
Those are I mean, it'd be hard to argue the benefit of any of those three, I think.
Yeah. You do what I do, which is come up with the most extreme examples to prove a point. And people, the net result of that always, for me, is people go, how dare you compare X to Hitler? And I'm like, I'm just proving a point that there is some case where it wouldn't, you can't believe it. I'm just proving yeah.
I mean, I could have come up with some worse examples, to be fair. Add child to any of those, it's definitely much worse. Yeah, there is a thing in philosophy, though, as well, the Hitler thing, that you're not allowed to revert to that as any kind of comparison.
Really?
Yeah. It's
like a rule.
It's cod philosophy, not like true philosophy, but it's that proves that it's kind of like, if you do that, you lose your argument, even if you're correct, because you have to be more creative than that.
I see.
So just put Stalin in there, maybe,
Right.
Safer. He's Russian as well, or Georgian, but,
Look at you with the knowledge.
Look at me, huh? I'm just reading off the internet. No, I'm joking. Speaking of dictators, what's the latest? Do you see any Trumpers out there? I mean, LA's pretty liberal, I guess, but
it is California. There is this funny thing where California is called the ATM of the election, because there are these pockets of, not even pockets, Orange County is super Republican and they come and raise hundreds of millions of dollars and stuff here. But generally, no. Like if going around this neighborhood, I wouldn't have seen any Trump flags. I'm trying to think if I would have seen anything like that, really. Mostly not, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But you're aware of it from,
I mean, it's much more in your landscape, isn't it? So yeah, it's sort of yeah.
There's also the interesting thing of the difference between. So here it's always conservative or liberal.
Yeah.
And that for me, the idea of what is liberal here versus the UK, and not in any big political ideologies, but in the little things. Things like, and this might be just sort of some of my bias, but we don't know. I mean, we grew up in London, so most people didn't have cars, right?
Yeah.
But if a friend of yours owned a big SUV or a truck, like a proper big pickup truck, big fuck off thing, to me that feels not very you're not going to be sticking a Jeremy Corbyn flag out of that. It doesn't feel very left wing, right?
Yeah.
No?
No, I think I agree, but I don't know why.
Yeah. So, I mean, because it's, they're gas guzzling, not friendly to the environment, that kind of thing,
there is
right?
that. And we're talking about friends, so it would be like an inaccurately sized vehicle for your needs type thing.
Yeah, if one of our friends were to roll up to your house in a giant truck, you'd be like, why have they got that? But here, I've got friends who are fully liberal dudes.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, I've got a big truck because, I like to go camping, or I'm going to, you can put a back on it and you can sleep under the tent, and it's just having a big truck. Yeah, big truck, cool. And all the way down to here, this might be a bit of a split one, but did you grow up in a house that used kitchen roll?
No, but
see, me neither.
Did, and now it's been incorporated into my house because she is a kitchen roll person. So
she's a kitchen roll person.
Yeah,
because I feel like I didn't, and most people I knew didn't. But here, stash 24 rolls of kitchen roll in the cupboard in case, and it's just use some kitchen roll, just wipe it up and throw it away. And I came up with, you use a cloth and then you wash it.
You use a tea towel, darling. What are you thinking?
Yeah, exactly. You're depriving the tea towel trade. Tea towel industry is suffering out here. Yeah,
big toilet roll or kitchen towel. Sorry.
Yeah, but just these little things that feel to me are very normal here, and it would be very acceptable within that doesn't affect whether you're a liberal person at all, but in the UK it would probably get a little bit of a frown.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy reading sort of the quite extreme left and quite extreme right news sites from the US.
Just so that you can be a centrist.
Basically, yeah. And it's also kind of what you were saying about music. It's kind of like keeping one toe in things. Because it's remarkable how different they are and how extreme they are. It's all kind of quite shocking. But, they will churn out article after article about, China Joe, bringing socialism to the US. And you're your idea of what left and right are is very, very different from the sort of British, quite mild. Even our extremists aren't that extreme,
right?
I don't know what I'm trying to say, really.
No, yeah, it's milder, but the rhetoric is bigger. It's what do they call them? Extreme left, Bernie Sanders, socialist, communist. It's not really.
Yeah.
It's not that extreme.
I've been looking at the people Biden's been putting in his cabinet, and it's okay, these are all people who've done a lot of time in the Washington machine. They're all pretty center-right people. There's not really much, they're on the Democrat side, but that's never enough for people who it's just become they just shut off to the other thing. And the weirdest thing, which I can't wrap my head around, is that their big banner is always like free speech, don't tread on me, freedom of expression. And they are also so into smash your enemy, stomp on their head, fuck them, throw them in jail and throw away the key. And I can't square those two things up.
No, you can't. You can't square it. And it's the same deal with like, I have the right not to wear a mask because that impinges my freedom. But then the business doesn't have the right to not let me in.
Right.
It's very just like individual centric. It doesn't add up at all. And I think there's no point in trying to make it because
it's like trying to square the circle. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. It's just a thing.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Do you want to know my weirdest discovery about moving to America?
Arthur, my darling, it would do me no end of joy to hear it. You know, my wife is American. I don't think you've met Caitlin.
No.
But she is American, so I'm
where's she from?
She's from New York, baby.
Wow, proper New York. But yeah, so here's my strangest thing. So when I was kind of deciding where I wanted to move, I had one of the things I'd ended up on. I wanted to move somewhere warm generally, and I wanted to move. After having spent like 6 months living in India and 6 months living in Tokyo, I realized that my level of being an outsider was fairly low. I was like, you know what? I couldn't be one of those people that's just like, yeah, I'm just like, you know, one of that very sort of expat feeling where I'm like, I'm always going to feel like an outsider. And I kind of like that because I'm like the thing. I was like, no, I kind of need a good degree of fitting in.
I'm totally with you, dude. When I just to pause you slightly, when I went to Malaysia, I stayed there for like 8 weeks working, and I was working quite a lot, so I didn't have that much time to socialize. But when I tried to, one of the things I tried out was like an expat evening. I was like, I wonder what these are like. It scarred me for life. Yeah. It's a very, very strange way to live. And it's like when you hear about Brits who've moved to Spain and they only hang out with other Brits and they don't know any Spanish and they're perhaps a bit racist towards the Spaniards.
Right, yeah.
I'm like you. I want to be an insider. I want to be part of the community.
Yeah. And so when I have been to places like India or Japan where it is a very different culture, I don't want to do the sort of the expat-y thing. It's like, no, I want to get sort of like the quote real experience, or just like, I don't know, see normal life, which is like why I kind of like going to places for longer rather than going on holiday so much, just to kind of go and try and live somewhere. But I did learn that, I couldn't live being like when I was in Chennai in India, this is like 2009, 2010, it's like I only saw a handful of foreigners there, and it was, I was the person that got, just looked at on the street and would have to haggle a lot for taxis, and like that's fine, and it was a good experience to have. But what I learned was I didn't want that for my day-to-day rest of my life.
Yeah.
So moving somewhere where I could already speak the language because I'm a lazy guy, like that kind of really fit. But here's the thing: there are some words that when I say them, Americans have no clue, or I would say like 50% of the time, they're not going to understand what I've said.
And are these words or phrases?
Just words.
Just words. Oh my God, can I guess a few?
Go for it.
Oh dear, maybe I've set myself up and I can't. Can I have a clue?
You need this to live. This shows you how frequently I have to use these words.
I don't know. Water?
Yes.
What?
Water.
Water. Yeah.
You want some water?
So the T's are always D's.
Although I've learned there's a Midwestern thing where it's a little bit like Cockney, where they just drop it. I don't think they would do it with water, but like better. Instead of being better, it can become like better.
better, a bit.
It's not better,
yeah,
but it's like better.
Better.
Yeah, it's there's this other thing.
Yeah.
So water's my number 2 word for like people don't understand it.
And what do you have to do? Do you like
I just have
slightly
to put
accent it?
Yeah, I have to say water.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Number 1. I'm gonna get. I think you can probably guess it. What is a word that I personally would have to use all the time?
Music.
Arthur. Because when I say Arthur, they go, author? Like you write book? And and like this is all the time. They're like, can we get a name for that order? And I'll be like, Arthur. And they just get confused look. And 50% of the time, maybe like 40%, they'll go, oh, Arthur. The rest of the time, they're like, and I have to go, Arthur. So when I've been here with like friends from the UK before, it's like I've gone up to pick stuff up and I'm like, they go, yeah, can we get a name? And I just turn up to be like, don't laugh, Arthur. And then Arthur. Yeah,
that's funny. I mean, I think that's a natural thing. I can understand how you might be sort of a bit embarrassed or reluctant to sort of do that, but like I think that's just a normal part of living in a new place. To give you an example, Caitlin's lived over here for about 5 years now, right? So her accent has become a bit more anglicized, and she will use certain words. Like I remember when she first came here, that was a long time ago, 2011. Like I would say, "Oh, I'm just going to go to the toilet," right? And she'd be embarrassed by it because they only say
the bathroom,
or
restroom,
or all of those kinds of things. Even for toilet paper, right? Is like toilet. I think they call it toilet tissue sometimes, but
TP.
Yeah, TP, TP. But like those things over time have like stopped being a problem. But it's so funny because when like her friends and family came over for our wedding, obviously at first they'd be ribbing her about like, oh, you sound so British and, all of that. But like after a few days hanging around with her parents, like her dad started developing like a bit of a British accent and would be, using phrases, and he'd be like, yeah, that sounds jolly good. And he'd actually stop himself and be like, jolly good? What am I talking about here? I don't talk like that. But it's like, there's something like catchy about an accent, but there's also something about like, it's like you were saying about being an expat. It's like there's only so much enjoyment you can get from being an outsider before it becomes you want for an easy life type thing.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the thing: how do you feel when you hear people not from the UK or from London saying things like "safe, bruv"? You can hear they've like picked it up and they go like, I'm going to use this because this is what all my friends say. But when they're like, yeah, safe, bruv.
I'm not overly fond of it. I tell you, a personal real hatred of mine is posh people talking in street language for jokes. That's awful. When they're like, word up, my homie. And it's like
in that kind of posh hop kind, like chap hop kind of way, like I know what you mean.
It's just awful, but I do find that like people over here are very like some people are very like reluctant to any kind of Americanization or influence. They're like, no, you're saying it wrong. This is the way to say it. The British, blah, 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 and like perhaps being slightly unaware that what they're being is a bit xenophobic, really.
Right.
Because I've always just embraced like that there's just different ways to say like I remember having an argument with someone about the aluminum thing.
Oh yeah.
And then when you actually do research on it, it's like no, there are actually genuinely 2 ways to spell it. Right. And therefore you would pronounce it differently as well.
Yeah, I mean I would say that like it's a bit like talking about the weather here, is that like if you just need a bit of conversation, it's like an endless well of like, aluminium, and like, you would say this, and it's one of those things where I find the enthusiasm for ebbs and flows. And at the beginning, it's like, great. Like I'm a celebrity. Everyone just like wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
And then after a bit, like we'd play ping pong at work. And there were two people in particular. I'm going to call them out, Garrett and Rachel. Who would, they'd be like, all right, shall we go play some ping pong? And I was like, Jesus Christ. And like, I would kind of play it up and like, you know, but after a while, I was just like, if I had a Chinese accent, would you be doing this?
Right.
And they both went like, now obviously, big disclaimer, it's like, the UK is the UK. Big old like imperial history with like the, you know, you can dogpile on the UK and you can say whatever you want about like people, white men from the UK, because, you know, we're just going to have to take it. But it did shut them up for about 3 days.
There we go.
Then,
that's all you need. Just a bit of reprieve.
Yeah. So it's something that you kind of, I don't know, I will use that at times, the whole like comparing things, but I am on the side of just embracing it. Like I can do Fahrenheit now.
Yeah, we use those horrible spying Alexa devices in my house, right? Because it's cool.
Yeah.
You can talk to the air and it will play you music. I like it. Obviously, I know they're spying on me, but fucking hell, whatever. Anyway, one of them in the house is set to Fahrenheit and one of them set to Celsius, and it's just like a trick way of basically me learning how that works. And it's the same with like pounds and stone, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I never in my life have I been okay with stone. I've never understood stone. It's like I maybe up until the age of like 9, I maybe knew that I weighed some stone, but I've always been like kilo boy. I've been a kilogram kind of guy.
That makes sense because like everyone should be. Like it's demonstrably the metric system is the 100% best way to do things. There is no argument about it. But
I would take some argument with like I've seen a couple of funny tweets around Celsius and Fahrenheit. Like here's the thing people say about Fahrenheit, which is maybe sort of true, is that it the ranges that you will like experience as a human and that you'll have like opinions on, you've got a bit more resolution because you're kind of going, oh yeah, it was 80 today or it was 89, and like that would translate to like 27 to 29 or something in Celsius. So you've got a bit more detail because you can be like, oh, it was 84, oh, it was 82.
Right.
But also the other one I saw was like, imagine sweating this much and trying to be mad at the number 40, right? It's like, this is 100, right? When it's 100, you're like, damn, it's over 100, triple digits, like fucking hell. But like trying to be like, I'm mad because it's 40? Oh.
I agree with you. However, the freezing point being 32 degrees is a bit annoying, to be honest.
No, all of that stuff makes sense. But the from a sheer human experience point of view, having a range of like, so LA, it'll basically be between 50 and 100.
Oh, you're so lucky.
That's the range. And those do feel like a bit more of a human scale in a way.
I get that. I get that. I was reading about because you know I think it was the Carter administration passed a law saying that the US is going to use metric, and not only did they not do it, but it was also rolled back by the next administration, who I believe were Republican, maybe Reagan. I might be wrong, but they were Republican. There's just like this idea of like, no, we're just going to keep doing things. Like even I was reading about paper the other day. Like
paper sizes,
paper sizes. Like the whole world uses A4 basically, or A5. That system at least. And there you've got like letter, which is like a little bit thinner and a little bit taller, and you're like, what?
This is what I mean. Is everyone wants things to be better, but no one wants anything to change.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point. Maybe it's something like in my genes that I think like assimilation is good because I guess like my family would be dead. Like at least my Jewish side of the family, like it's like it wouldn't have worked like throughout history, throughout thousands of years if we didn't assimilate. But I also think, I don't know, it's like, don't you want to be part of your society that you're in? Don't you want to,
right,
be in the conversation instead of separate to it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of these things. Here's another little life theory of mine, is that we're just generally, as a culture, I don't think innately, bad at things being like percentages or probabilities instead of black and white. It's like integrate or don't integrate. It's like, the reality is people want to like move to another country but still keep some of their own culture.
Yeah.
And it's like the big one that this happens with is like, oh, but he's not a bad person, or like he's still a good person, just did that one like awful thing, or just sometimes like this, or when they drink, it's like, why not both? It's like,
why not both? That's really interesting.
Why not both?
Hey, on that subject, Arthur. Sorry, you've been generous with your time. We're at 75 minutes, so just let me know if you've got to go.
I have until the next hour.
Okay.
I'm all yours.
Great. That's very exciting. I'm not sure if I've got the stamina for that. But
No. I'm just saying. That's my cutoff. Anytime up until then. You can end it right now if you want, but it'll be a little bit rude.
I was just wondering about it's just like a two-pronged thing, kind of based on what we're talking about. It's like, what are the new things, be they food or experiences or bits of language or whatever, that you've encountered over there that you're like, oh, I want this now to be part of my life always, and what are the things that you can't get over there from here that you miss, if that makes sense?
Yeah. The big trade-off, so this is to answer two of your questions at once, was I had to give up Turkish food, but I got Mexican food.
Right.
And I love Turkish food. Like, I grew up in Hackney, and I went to school in Stoke Newington, and that's basically Kingston Road and Green Lanes, the two greatest streets in the world for Turkish food.
Just the wrap. Give me the wrap, please. You want sauce? Of course I want sauce. But not too much.
Shish wrap.
Oh my God.
I live for that.
All the salad? Are you an all the salad guy?
Yeah. Full salad. Sometimes if I'm, meeting up with people, there might be no onion.
Right.
But
you're a reasonable guy. That makes sense.
Preferably onion. But I mean, I'm not joking. The last time I came back to the UK, last Christmas, on the way from the airport to my house, I picked up a lamb shish wrap.
Oh yeah.
I love it so much.
I literally had one yesterday. Sorry, mate. Sorry. But
it's going to be like another 6 months at least.
Is there really no... I mean, there must be one Turkish restaurant at least in LA. No?
I've Googled it, and there was one. It shut down. There's sort of some, like, they'll call them Mediterranean, but it tends to be they serve beef and chicken rather than lamb and chicken, and none of them are close to where I am. Right. So I've just, again, on the embracing, you've got to let go.
Yeah.
So
you could make it yourself.
Am I really going to travel for like an hour to go and get a wrap that is going to be a disappointment?
That's a good point.
Don't hold on to the dream.
But the Mexican food in LA is legendary.
It is good. So what I've learned is it's more of a taco town than a burrito town. And but I shout out to Sonora Town, which does good burritos. But yeah, the tacos are good here. It took me a while to like figure out, because there's definitely good and bad Mexican food here, and you got to kind of learn some of the spots, and also just gain your own taste for it and figure out what you like. There was a place that everyone said, "Oh, this one's great. It's this kind of like Tex-Mex thing," and I always just found it a bit bland. But then I found there's a style, which I'm not sure if the style is called guisados, but there's a sort of small chain called guisados, and they're more saucy. Everything's kind of in a sauce, and so it has a lot of flavor. And so I'm into that. Less so the kind of the breakfast taco stuff.
Never
which
like
is more
that.
like
No, I've never liked that. That's I'm not a big breakfast guy anyway, but I certainly don't want. It's like in India. I always struggled with breakfast. They were like, "How about a light curry?" And I'd be like, "No, not ready for that."
Me, my favorite, one of my again all-time favorite foods is paratha, and it's the Kerala style, which is basically like a spiral of fried, chewy bread.
God, I'm starving.
And you just dip that into like little chutneys, and it was the best. And I'd have that for breakfast, and it was
that's an intense
amazing.
breakfast. But yeah, I mean, paratha's like it's more buttery, isn't it, than naan? Yeah. What about like supermarket stuff?
Because your question was, what do I miss? And also the thing,
and also new things that you love. Yeah,
I've picked up a very LA or very Californian. It's not even a phrase; it's just 2 words. Is for sure. For sure. And it's used in lots of contexts, like it could be like, are you going to go to the show tonight? Oh, for sure. Or like, thanks for the lift. For sure. It's you, and I can't give you all the different contexts because some of them just come up. But yeah, for sure it's used like, oh, I love that place. Oh, for sure. Right. Great burgers. So that one definitely crept in the quickest, I'd say.
For sure.
There you go. In terms of supermarket stuff, shout out to especially my sister and my mum, who at my birthday and just recently at Christmas, at my request, sent a big old box of snacks. And I was like, I want pickled onion Monster Munch.
I knew you were going to say pickled onion Monster Munch.
4 varieties. I got, for salt and vinegar, I got McCoy's, Walker's, Squares, maybe it was just 3. And then prawn cocktail crisps. They sent a tin of Quality Street.
Mate.
Twinings tea. I never Twinings.
Yeah, I never knew that one either, yeah.
Penguin bars. Nando's peri-peri sauce.
Oh, yes, please.
Terry's chocolate orange. All of that kind of stuff. Jaffa cakes. It's great.
All the stuff that's just terrible for you and tastes amazing.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, those are the things. I learned my lesson because the previous one, they sent things like Haribo, and when everyone's buying a gift, they're not just going to buy one bag. It's always like, get a couple of each thing, and it was too much. It's just too much sugar. So this time it was more snack heavy. Here's the surprise one. I would say maybe my all-time favorite crisp, outside of the salt and vinegar pickled onion category, which everyone knows is just like the best.
The best. I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah.
My other favorite crisp are Doritos Chili Heatwave. You know those? The red ones?
Yes. Caitlin says the ones in the UK suck and the ones in America are like proper.
Well, here's the thing. They're just different. Chili Heatwave doesn't exist in America. They have, it's called like spice. It's something just spicy. It's just pure spice. And it's not the thing. It's not even like, oh, they're slightly different. Like, Cadbury's is different in England and America. It's like, no, they're just different flavors, and they don't do them. And it was the biggest shock to me because I thought, if there is like, I'm going to America, I'm going to be able to get all the Doritos. I'm going to be able to get secret Doritos, Willy Wonka like flavors of Doritos that don't exist in the UK. Turns out, Chili Heatwave doesn't exist here. And I Googled it, and I found people on Reddit being like, yo, you got to get your UK homies to hook you up because that's the shit.
I have never understood why there are these like subtle differences. Like in America, it's TJ Maxx instead of TK Maxx. And you just know there's been like the board of execs who've decided it's like the American market will want TJ. It'll really sink, And I've never understood it, but I've always been fascinated by it. Like I don't really eat McDonald's, right? But I'll always look at a McDonald's wherever I've traveled.
Right.
Because I just I remember in Greece they had like the McPitta wrap, which was like a lamb thing, like you'd get in a...
Yeah, I remember in India seeing them, what was it called? Like the Maharaja burger, which was like it was like a bean burger, Big Mac kind of thing.
But I have to say, having done quite a lot of travelling, as indeed you have, the UK snacks market is top of the food chain.
It's pretty good. But I would... Yeah. But the thing that is lacking... Maybe it's a little better now, but is being able to get a healthy snack. And by healthy, I don't necessarily mean... Because the problem is, as soon as you say that, it's like health bar, Cliff Bar, some kind of like... And usually it's actually not, you don't really want to eat something flapjacky or something like that. The country that I was the best food country I've ever been to is Japan. And the thing is that, like, it's not that you could get everything you would ever want there. It is massively predominantly Japanese food.
Yeah.
But there's just this respect level where I was there for 6 months. I went for a couple of fancy meals, like sort of 100 quid a head sushi meal. And it was just like mind blowing. But all the way down the other end of the spectrum, where you go into 7-Eleven and you buy an onigiri, just a little rice ball with some tuna in the middle of it, and it costs like 60p. What could you get for 60p in England where you wouldn't feel guilty about it? Like fruit.
Really good. An apple?
Yeah, exactly. You can get fruit, but again, it's still not a savoury thing.
No. They have, no, not really.
Get some crisps,
jerky?
some nuts.
Jerky's probably not that bad for you, but I don't think you can get it for 60p.
Yeah. So it was that kind of thing. I was like, yeah, this is it's great.
Yeah.
The other surprise in Japan was the dairy. So good.
Really?
The best milk I've ever had was just like the mid-range supermarket level milk in Japan. So
Wow.
delicious.
I would so not expect that, because a lot of Asian people don't have the gene for processing dairy because it's not been a part of that
But
world.
they love it.
That's so interesting.
And they're so good at beef as well, and it's only been in the
yeah.
diet for like 100 years.
They have they you know what they have? They have this like artistic and respectful approach to food, which like you see at like top level French and stuff and whatever all around the world. But like it seems like there it's like it's way like it's not just at the top level. It's like it filters down to like you say, even a 7-Eleven will have like a delicious thing, not chock full of preservatives and stuff.
I mean,
fresh.
the 7-Eleven will also have like hot dogs being cooked under the light.
Of course. You've got to cater for all tastes, after all.
A funny thing I heard though as well was that a lot of apparently American Japanese, so like Americans from Japanese families who born and raised in America, when they would put on weight when they came back, when they went to Japan, because they were suddenly eating a lot more rice. And I would have thought it was like, we'd go to Japan, that's the healthy diet. But
Definitely.
no, apparently not. I mean, I could definitely see it. If you come from California and you're just eating like grain bowls, and then you go to Japan, it's just like fucking amazing rice and sushi all the time, but cheap.
Dude. Yeah. Have you seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
I have. I saw that, and it did tempt me into trying to book the place.
Yeah.
But I spoke to a friend. Did you ever know Simon Fowler?
Rings a bell.
He would have been your year, but at Stoke Newington. I'm not sure if you would have totally crossed paths. But anyway, he's a friend, and he's an amazing, amazing artist. But he also spent I think 2 years in Japan training as a sushi chef.
Wow.
And I ended up meeting up with him out there. But I asked him is it worth it, that thing? And he was just like, don't believe the hype. Not in terms of it's not good, but he's like, there are other places that are amazing, that would be as good, but because they don't have the movie status, they don't have the thing. It's not going to cost 300 quid to go there.
Right.
So I don't know. It still would obviously be tempting because it's the thing.
Yeah.
But
it's to say that you've been. It's like, have you been to Singapore?
I haven't. No.
Yeah. Well, there's a Singapore sling, right, which is this famous cocktail, and there's Raffles, which is where it was invented, and it's kind of like it's the thing everyone does, and because you do it, it's like this one cocktail costs like 30 quid. But like you say, it's because people want to say that they've been there and done it. Because if someone says, "Have you been to Singapore?" they'll go, "Have you been to Raffles? Did you try the Singapore sling?"
Yeah. I mean, I think the easy criticism of that is like, oh, you only want to do it because blah, blah, blah. I think it's also fair for the gram, but also it's sort of fair enough to say like, you can't judge something till you tried it. So like you sort of want to know, is it really that good? On the downside, I think there's then a big social pressure to be like, it was great. Like,
or to then be like the contrarian of being like, you know what? Actually, it wasn't that good.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. Yeah. There's no winning. That's why, actually, you know what? That's kind of why I hate. I find I'm always like 6 months behind on, or more, on things that are cool or good. I think it took me until I didn't even listen to Kendrick Lamar until To Pimp a Butterfly came out, and I remember saying to my friend, "It's like, yo, this Kendrick Lamar guy, he's good." And they were like, yeah, we've been trying to tell you for like 2 years, like the last album, 2 albums. And I was like, no, but he's like really good. They're like, yeah, we know. And I'm like, no, but he's really good. And they're like, just fuck you. So like, but yeah, I don't, one of the reasons I like going to the cinema on my own is that you don't have to have that conversation about what you thought about the film afterwards, where it's like, you can feel, I guess I don't like other people's opinions influencing my own opinion of things.
That's an interesting point. I've always thought going to the cinema by oneself is like a joy and a treat. And I think it was like stigmatized for a while, but I think that might be changing. Although whether cinemas still exist is another thing. I think going to a restaurant by yourself maybe is still a bit of a...
Still is. I'm a fan.
I heard this really funny thing the other day of a comedian in the UK. He apparently what he likes to do is go to Michelin restaurants and have their tasting menu, but by himself.
Ed Gamble.
Yes.
This is the off menu.
This is off menu. Yeah. You heard it as well. Yeah.
I heard it. Yeah. You know what? I could fuck with that. I'm like, so I've not done a Michelin star, but I have done same level Mangal 2 on a Friday night on my own.
Boom.
Which is like
bottle of wine, 4 courses.
Here's what I would say to it, because I got into it when I was working on a project back in 2012 where I was working basically nights. So I'd finish at around 3 a.m. and I would go to Testy. No, not Testy. Which one was it? Maybe it was Testy. In Dalston, there was one of them that was open until like 4. And so I would just go and have my dinner at that time, and it would be great. And that just kind of got my okayness up with eating in a restaurant on my own. And so there'd be some times on like a Friday when I'd finish work or something, and I'd just be going home and no one was doing anything. There's no social fun happening. And I was just like, you know what? I really want some Turkish food. And I don't really want to like put it in my bag and cycle it home and eat it on the sofa. And go into, Mangal or wherever, and you say table for one. There was this look across the guy's eyes, and he just went, yeah, okay. And then he like straight to a table, service immediately. Like they look after you really well. That's what I found. When people are on your own, they're just like, and give a good tip and like, yeah, I would say it's pro move.
Pro move
on your own. The tasting menu, whew, it's a
lot. You got to really like your own company.
To his credit, I think he said that he did it mostly when he was like on tour or something.
Yeah.
But
nothing
still,
to do, middle of the day kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the fanciest meal I've ever had on my own. I don't know. I think it might have just been Mangal.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a really fancy one by myself. I'm not that luxuriant when I'm by myself. I'm more like I'll just I'd rather be on the sofa in my underwear doing that instead of being waited upon. But yeah, I've probably had like an honest burger. Is that fancy?
Yeah,
All right. What time is it? Caitlin's making me food, so I've got to go in a minute.
Yeah.
This has been really fun, man. It's been really nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you said Kendrick Lamar. It reminded me of with the Davies twins. We saw him in Cologne when Jammies was still living out there.
Right.
And it was just like, it was an amazing thing. He's like a rock star, and his show was amazing, and the songs were awesome. Have had any of your like friends or family visited you in LA before the pandemic and all that stuff happened? or not yet? Because I know you hadn't been there long. So
yeah, I have seen a couple of friends, but it was things like a friend who lived in New York was coming to the West Coast because she was going to go to San Francisco, and then we hung out here. Right. Yeah. But friends from London, no, I had it was very sad. I got my place fully unfurnished, bought I bought a sofa bed so that I could was buying spare sets of sheets so that friends from London could come stay, and 6 plates and a dining table and all that stuff. Yeah, and no one came to stay because it got locked the fuck down.
Oh, it's such a fucking shame.
Tragic.
But I tell you what, man, when it opens up again, I have never been to LA. I've always wanted to go to LA. So if I come out there,
you can stay with me.
I can use some of your plates and I could sleep on your sheets.
You can sleep on my sheets. Yeah, it would be good. Yeah, you should definitely come out. It's La La Land, as they say.
Well, it's good to hear that you haven't changed. You're not Mr. Fake Hollywood. You're still the real deal.
Hey, man.
Mate.
Hey, man. I dropped quite a few names for you.
You did.
I'm not who I used to be. I'm manifesting who I want to be. I'm just on that note, the level of second to third degree celebrity is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw, this is name dropping, but it's funny because it's second or third degree. It's I sublet with a guy for a couple of weeks who kind of knew everyone's something. So he knew
Kevin Bacon's aunt.
It was that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
He invited me to a gig that he was DJing at, and I went along, and he introduced me to this is Joe, he's English as well. I was like, oh, Joe, nice to meet you. Had this whole conversation. He's about 10 years older than me. And he'd just finished building his house in Malibu, and he was a musician. I was like, shit, is this guy famous? What's the deal? Should I know him? Should I be feeling bad? But it was nice, and we got on. And then afterwards, he was like, oh, you have a good time talking to Joe? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's Sting's son. I was like, oh. Okay, now it all makes sense. Yeah, there you go.
Why did you keep calling Sting Dad? It was weird. Suddenly falls into place.
But yeah, and this guy, he knew. I was trying to remember who else it would. It'd be Sean Lennon maybe. Even that maybe was too celebrity for it. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of so and so's something or other.
Yeah.
So
well, that's how you make it, mate. You bet. Look, this is what you need to do. You need to shack up with Britney Spears' daughter, if she has it. I don't know. Get in there. Get. Don't sign the prenup. Quickie in. Get the divorce. Half the estate. Boom. Sorted for life. What do you think?
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
That is the dream. I did joke that I used to say that. Well, yeah, when I would come out here, the goal was to be the third husband of a B-list celebrity. They've been married to the Hollywood star. Yep. Turns out it's all a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they just want to marry someone who's boring. And they get referred to in it'll be Vanity Fair party page, and it'll be this is so and so with friend.
Your Hollywood ambition is.
I'm I want to be friend.
Well, you're my friend, Arthur.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's been
Robert.
It's been such a joy, mate. It's been really, really nice to talk to you.
You too.
Yeah. Would you come back on the show?
Of course.
Wicked.
I will enter the abyss at any moment.
Cool. Well, dude, love you. Gotta leave you. Hopefully this recording works. But I think you've been recording your end as well, haven't you? So
yep.
Chuck that file to me whenever, and I'll remember to bleep that person's name as well.
Oh yeah,
don't worry.
Of course,
I'll make sure. But yeah,
I'm glad we did an impression of him though. Just so.
Yeah, might be the clip I use at the beginning. Yeah, Noel Gallagher likes wine. Oh, mate. You're a treasure. You're a treasure. Stay well. Stay safe out there. All right, brother?
See you, Rob.
Cool. See you later, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
The bliss of the abyss.
And there he is. That's Mr. Arthur Carabott. That was a fun time between friends, and we could all do with that. What with this Christmas being such a different Christmas this year. I hope you're well wherever you are. Thank you very much for continuing to listen to and support this show. Let's just get through this year, eh? And I'll see you soon. Love you. Bye! Thank you for listening to the show. This has been The Bliss of the Abyss with your host, me, Robin Umar Jones, Ruskin Denmark, whatever you want to call me. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider supporting it by becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/The Bliss of the Abyss and give whatever you can. It really, really helps support the show and keeps it growing and becoming better and bigger and brighter. Follow us on all the social medias, follow me on all the social medias, and give us 5 stars. It helps grow the show. Keep coming back every week for more Bliss of the Abyss.
Message 1. Who knows with me? She's calling to see if maybe you're in now, but I guess not, so I guess I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night. Talk to you then. Bye.